So the LEOPARD trial is truly revolutionary in the sense that it's the first prospective multi-center randomized trial comparing contemporarily available devices. So we're very excited to be able to present this 3-year data. It's been a long time in the making. When we first came up with the concept, we realized that the vast majority of clinical data related to endovascular aneurysm repair is generated as part of FDA IDE trials. And by design, those are single-arm trials that are not randomized. They are across multiple sites, but there's really no comparator group except for historical controls. We thought it would be important going forward to design a trial that actually had head-to-head comparison of current commercially available devices in a real-world setting. In addition, we believe that the concept of anatomical fixation, or having an endograft sit on the bifurcation for stability and then building back up to the renals, was very different than grafts that were designed to have proximal fixation close to or adjacent to the renal arteries with either a self-expanding stent or suprarenal stent or barbs. And so for that reason, we decided to pool the current 3 commercially proximal available devices. That would have been Gore, Medtronic, and Cook at the time, and compare those head-to-head with the Endologix device. Now, I think it's very important to note that at this time, there had actually been a change in the PTFE construct of the Endologix device. There had been a previous generation device that had had problems with type 3 endoleaks, and the new design specifically was made to address this problem. And so in fact, this is the first prospective randomized trial to truly look at this in a real-world prospective fashion. So I've just presented at the VEITH Symposium here 2019 the 3-year results for our prospective randomized multi-center trial. We had several important endpoints. One, a primary composite endpoint that included all of our usual parameters, including freedom from rupture, freedom from death, freedom from conversion, in addition to adding the components of endoleak. And what we found is absolutely no difference in terms of outcomes at 3-year for that composite endpoint. Just as importantly, our freedom from both type 1, type 2, and type 3 endoleaks were no different between groups. Our freedom from aneurysm and all-cause mortality were absolutely the same. And our need for reintervention at 3 years in both groups was less than 9% for both subgroups. I think this is vitally important because for the first time, this gives us a contemporary control group for all future EVAR and endovascular device trials designed to treat aneurysms, rather than just using either historic open controls or historic controls from previous single design trials. Absolutely. I think these findings confirm that for many of us who have been convinced that anatomical fixation for certain subgroups of patients makes absolute sense. It's quick and easy to use. It's often very, very effective in patients with a narrow distal bifurcation. If we have challenges with some of our proximal anatomy and seal, it's also been extremely useful in patients where we need to have rapid deployment and utilization of a stent graft system. So I very much think this confirms that for individuals who are comfortable with this system, that it truly can be a mainstay of therapy for treating aneurysms from an endovascular approach. If I had to pick 3 points out that really we need to take away from this trial, I think the number 1 point would be this truly does need to be recognized as the first contemporaneous randomized controlled trial with head-to-head comparison of, at the time, the 4 most commonly used commercially available grafts. I think just the fact that we've been able to accumulate that data across multiple centers and multiple physicians in a randomized fashion is significant. Secondly, I think it really does point out that When we start evaluating grafts, even though we have many instances of previous historic events, we truly need concurrent prospective data to evaluate the most recent generation of devices. So the current generation of AFX with the newest configuration of PTFE has absolutely the same durability, safety, and efficacy out to 3 years as any of the other devices. I think the final point is we all realize that all of our technology ultimately has the risk for failure modes, and we've seen that time and time again. And it will be vitally important for us to continue to follow this data set in these patients at a bare minimum out to 5 years. And many of us think that we need to continue to follow these patients indefinitely. So I think that the LEOPARD trial will continue to not only drive current treatment paradigms for managing aneurysms, but will be a benchmark for all future prospective aneurysm trials.